So, a nuclear sub. Other than the fact that that's a scary idea that they're now nuclear subs, the fact is that when I hear nuclear sub, I think of a really, really hot Subway sandwich. Welcome back to more Super Robot Wars Original Generations. We are now in Scenario 7, Defend the Kanmon Straits. We've got a new character and a new unit to go over, so let's do that right away. Irmgard Kazuhara, aka Irm, and literally that's what anybody calls him, so that's what we're gonna call him as well. Irm may not have the best personality for a Super Robot Wars character, but by golly is Irm a good unit. Looking at his stats to start, Irm has a fantastic melee stat, a really high skill stat, a pretty good defense stat, solid evasion, and solid accuracy. The only low point, and I wouldn't exactly say his range stat is bad, but he does have a decently low range stat in comparison to his contemporaries on the team. But Irm's stats are really good, especially his melee stat, and that's the most important stat for him as well. 65 SP might be a little small, but other than that, he's pretty good. Right out the gate for spirits, he starts out with Bullseye and Flash, two of the best spirits in the game, and they're also incredibly low cost. A 10 cost Bullseye is fantastic. 10 cost Flash doesn't matter as much, but man is it nice to have both those spirits at a really good cost and have them both right from the get-go. The next spirit he gets is the Spirit at level 11 at a 35 cost, which is a pretty solid cost for that as well. Then at level 15 he gets access to Valor at a 40 cost, a pretty solid cost for that as well. Then at level 20 he gets Focus, meaning he can work in both a real robot and a super robot, and at a 15 cost is pretty solid. And finally at level 32 he gets Love, that's at a cost of 60, but one important thing to mention about Irm is that his ace bonus, and so ace bonuses of course as I mentioned earlier, you get 50 kills, then you get unlock this ace bonus. His Love cost is then reduced to 45, which is only 5 points higher than his Valor. That is fantastic. No other character in OG1 has a Love that is that small of a cost, and so that's really good for Irm and is one of the things that makes him fantastic. Being able to simulcast Love, it helps him against bosses, gets him lots of experience, lots of money, so it's a fantastic spirit that makes Irm really, really, really good. Looking now at his skills, he's got Potential, which goes up to level 6, and Infighter, which goes up to level 5. Both are great skills, especially for a unit that is all about physical attacking and a unit that tends towards being more of a super robot pilot with potential than being more of a real robot that's trying to avoid as much as possible. With all of that being said, going over all of the basics of Irm, it all just comes together to make a really, really, really good physical unit that can work in many different situations. For the most part though, what you're going to want to do with Irm is you're going to want to keep him in a mech that has a majority melee attacks, and so that he can hit really hard with that. The other thing is, because his focus only comes at level 20, it might be better to keep him in a bulkier robot before he gets Focus, just because other than Focus, his only way of keeping himself alive at the beginning here is through Flash or through Spirit, getting him more defense through having higher will. But overall, Irm is just really good in a lot of situations and just doesn't really have any major flaws, which is something that a lot of other characters don't have. You're wanting to give him lots of kills as quickly as possible so he can get his ace bonus right when he gets Love, so that he has it at that 45 cost, which is really good. And just in general, Irm just doesn't really do anything wrong. There is going to be a mech that he gets later that is a really high-powered super robot that is melee focused, and he's deployed in it automatically through the story, and really I don't see much of a reason to take him out of it on the Ryusei route. I think Irm is one of the best training projects that you have on Ryusei route, and so getting him levels, getting him kills, getting him all those things, and giving him a little bit of special treatment, because it's so easy for Irm to snowball. Not only does he have just really good spirits, and the earlier you get access to those spirits, the better he gets, but also because he has potential in his base kit, and so he'll get that leveled up more as you go. He has Infighter in his base kit, so he's going to have automatically more damage than a lot of other units, especially on the melee side. That means you can get him SP regen quicker, you can get him attacker quicker, you can mix and mash and go for a revenge build, or various other builds, because he only has the 2 skills there, kind of make Irm into what you want him to be. And so just is the complete package and is one of the best melee units and one of the best units in the game, especially on Ryusei route, here early and throughout the entire journey. And now it's time to go over the mass-produced Gespent Mark II. You see how its class up there says it's generic? Yeah, well, that's because this is the generic mech, the baseline. This right here, this is it. And I mentioned this when talking about the Gespent Mark II Type TT, but yes, this is just the basic version. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting because I think the Mark II, just the base version, is maybe better than the Type TT because its exclusive attack is a little bit more useful and a little easier to use on most units, but we'll go over that in just a second. As you can see here, 3800 HP, that's just the flat baseline, 100 energy, still same basic baseline, 95 mobility, that's not as good as you'd like it to be. Of course you want that much higher so you can actually dodge with this thing because it isn't tanky enough. 1000 armor, I mean, whatever, 35 cost, who cares, 5 movement. So yeah, to reiterate, the Gespent is just your base. Nothing different, nothing really special. Looking at its attacks, it's got the split missile. Every Gespent has the split missile, machine guns and equipable, but the main thing that I want to draw the attention to, and the reason I think that this is better than the Type TT, is Jet Magnum. It's a post-move attack with 1 to 2 range, starts at 3550 for its total attack, which is really good. Solid accuracy, a little bit lower. Only 110 will is really nice for it as well. A little bit of a crit bonus. It works on all terrains except for air, and so it's also super cheap to upgrade and is, again, super easy to use. And so I think it's just a really solid attack that I think is a little bit more useful than the Gespent Type TT's T-Link Ripper, especially for characters like Ryusei that are more melee focused. I guess it's splitting hairs. At the end of the day, the Gespent Mark II, whether it's the mass-produced version here with Jet Magnum or the Type TT, these aren't the best mechs in the game. Maybe with heavy investment that makes them on par with other mechs, but at the end of the day, the more specialized mechs that you're going to get later on into the journey are going to be better than these, but they are better than planes. They have a lot of weapon equipment rates so that you can equip them with all sorts of different weapons, but the thing about it is that you can do that for all sorts of other real robots, and so overall, it's a fine starter mech, but you are going to get far better options that are going to do almost everything the Gespent can do better. And so now that we're back, we're just going to be starting to move our units as close to the edge of the water as possible, and then taking out these planes to get us his will as quickly as possible. So I'm setting Rai on the ground there because, of course, his mech does not work good in the water because it's mostly beam attacks. And then we're just going to be moving everybody else in there as well here. I believe I used Bullseye here for that's just great. Again, the 10 cost, as I mentioned in his bio, is just super useful because he can spam it every turn once he gets SP regen. We're also going to be moving our planes in closer. This time we're going to be using Latuni exclusively, though, just because she's far better and a far better investment property here to be using than using Yada. I do use Spirit on him, but it's not really worth doing with Latuni here to start, so we're just going to move her up and the rest of these guys. I could have, I guess, put Gyata in closer by using Excel, and maybe I do that, we'll see. Yeah, no, I don't. And so just kind of getting us set up here and getting our guys up close. I probably should have used Bullseye on Kai as well. And so that's kind of our first turn here, and just working, going to be taking these guys down. The main thing we're going to be wanting to do here is eventually take down these killer whales, but of course you don't want to actually take them down, you just want to damage them down to low enough so then you retreat away. But only the one plane attacks us here on this first turn, and so not a whole lot to do to start here. And this is a pretty slow map because these killer whales don't move very quickly, and so mainly your only other major thing you're going to have to be worried about here is keeping Ryusei alive. As you can see here, I'm going to focus up because 65% just not good enough for the Mega Beam Rifle, but Ryusei should be able to take down this plane quite easily here, and so that's just kind of the main thing. On these early maps, though, you're going to want to use your spirits effectively here. Get a good level up to Ryusei, because you don't have SP regen, and so using it at the right time here. We're going to get some action here, though, or try to. We're going to bullseye up again with him. Probably shouldn't have bullseyed that first turn. I just... Usually, especially on these early maps, the enemies will not come after you on that first turn, just because they're giving you the time to get set up here. But here we're going to move in Latuni as close as we can. I believe I focus up with her. Yep. Latuni again, I mentioned it, having that 10 focus is really nice on her, and so she's, right now in this plane, is basically unkillable, and so she's going to do really good against all these other planes. Again, though, planes leave a lot to be desired in terms of how much damage they do. Latuni gets sense, that's really nice there as well, so just kind of taking our time here to slowly take down these enemies. Not a whole lot to really discuss here, so I guess I'll take the time now to kind of discuss the story here and a few of the characters as well. So one of the things I really like about OG1 in the beginning here is that there's a really big technological difference between us and the DC, aka the used to be the EOT organization, and you know, these subs aren't really anything special, but like, and we're seeing the planes, but they're higher, the lines that they're always throwing up against us, those things are able to have unassisted flight, which is completely new for this series, and very similar to Gundam for those who have watched the original Mobile Suit Gundam, as well as Zeta Gundam and the following Gundams in the UC timeline. Mobile suits or mechs or personal troopers, whatever they're called in whatever universe, don't usually have the ability to do unassisted flight, and the Gespenst that we have here can only do briefly some flight. They can work in space, but just up against average on Earth, they can't move at all. So now getting back to the story here, or the gameplay though, those killer whales are now on the move, so you're best to kind of leave them alone a little bit here to start, because they're in the water and just you're gonna want to get some will. You are in no danger of them really, because they got to go around this landmass that you started on to get over to the escape point. So you're kind of just going to be using them here to start and take down these enemies. But again, pretty slow map here to start, not a whole lot to talk about off the beginning. So I'll talk again a little bit more about the story as well. And so just with the lines and stuff, it's an interesting thing that they bring up here that changes up quite a bit of the game, being that these were at a significant disadvantage. And again, no other really Super Robo Wars games or OG games even have this kind of slow start where you're kind of playing with scraps. And so I think that's something really special and different about OG1, where you get to not play with as good of units here and have to, you know, kind of make do with what you have. You got really good characters here. One thing I would recommend, and I'm gonna go against this, I assume, because I'm not very smart, but one thing I would recommend is try to give all these kills to your units that are going to stay. We have Kai here. Kai is not, once again, not a permanent unit. So having Kai, I'm going to have though attack here. Should show off Jet Magnum, and I do eventually, but with but kind of just trying to get through this map a little quicker, because again, it's not a super interesting map to start. Latuni's going to get a lot of kills in this map, and so just be ready for that. I believe I try and get, yep, I'm going to send Rai in here, and he's going to get some kill on this plane as well. Nope, I'm attacking the killer whale. So I think actually what I'm doing here is I'm spreading around the damage here, trying to get this killer whale down on HP just to get rid of it to start. Get that support attack from Kai, something a little bit useful there. So I think I'll have Kai, yep, attack the killer whales as well, and then we'll leave the plane to take on whoever it wants. You're just kind of slowly whittling it down. Be sure to save quite a bit on this map though once you start attacking these killer whales, as they will take if you shoot them down, that's a game over. There's Gyata missing and then getting hit. And so again, that's an unfortunate thing about Gyata, that the guy cannot, for the life of him, protect himself in any way, and that really hurts when he's stuck in a plane right now. So coming in help here is Garnet, and I actually decided not to let her attack just because her chances of hitting and then getting hit are not good, and we don't want to lose anybody on this map. Garnet is useful for her support spirits, and so we're just going to keep it like that for now.
3度目はもうないっての。しゃ4度目だろうが5度目だろうがやられはしねえ。
And so now we're just worrying about getting the SR point. This is the opposite of difficult here again. Get used to having to take down Tenzan, because you're going to be doing it a whole lot. And that's fine, because he's kind of a prick. Not a very nice person. Good kill there for definitely useful there. These guys are going to slowly come after you, but not all of them. And so that's going to be the main thing. I believe Tenzan actually has some pretty big aggression. Tenzan, again, as a boss character, and lots of boss characters are like this, will usually go after a specific character, and or they will gun after the closest person here. So we're going to focus up with Ryusei and send him in to help take down Tenzan to begin here. He's going to just take down this line though in the meantime instead. And so, like I said, kind of have your units move and try to take down the enemy units that are a lot weaker, and then in the meantime work on taking down, dealing damage to the killer whale with somebody who's not in the area. I probably could have gained and focus and given the kill to given that kill to Aya and gotten her some extra experience here, but not that big of a deal. Just how you play this here. I think I send Latuni in to help take down the lions because she's dodgy enough that they don't really matter, and she can get in there to help. Another good idea here is to send in have him be able to bullseye jet magnum these guys, which is what we're going to do as well. And so also will be pretty safe because he's in the water as well. But yeah, I think I specifically took out took out that line there specifically so that I could then take down, get Latuni in closer to take on the rest of those guys. Ride forward to get him closer to the edge here. He's gonna just help whittle down this killer whale. battleships like the killer whale are going to be pretty dang tanky, so it's going to take a lot of time here, especially with your pretty limited weapons to start out. So yeah, let's bring in and help nearly take down these lines to start. We'll have Diata attack with our homing missile. Homing missiles do not have good ability to attack water units, so you're better off just using your pilots, your fighter pilots, to do some chip damage, I guess, but also just help take down the lines here. So we'll be able to whittle that killer whale down next turn, but now we'll go to the enemy phase and be prepared to have a little bit of a scrap with Tenzan Nakajima.
とりあえず死んどけ。
それだけなの？相対距離、速度、再計算。
俺があんな連中にふざけやがって。抵抗するな。予
測通り。あなたの癖は大体分かったわ。
いかん、これ以上食らったら。
And so, like I said, it's important to save, and so I do so here just to make sure that I wanted to feed this kill to Ryusei, get him the luck and cheer kill here on Tenzan, just because, of course, he's the main character. Could have given it to or, you know, maybe Latuni if I wanted to. I also was trying to plan and get Kai paired up with somebody so he could use his really good. He could help out on the kill as well, and maybe what I should have done was pair up Ryusei and somebody so that you could have used Cheer and Bless on them to get double the experience. The other reason I saved here was because I was not 100% certain I was going to hit because I had already used up all my SP on Ryusei. T-Link Gripper though does come in handy here as much as I talk about it, and gets the 100% hit rate. It also gets a little bit of a boost there. Or he doesn't get a boost, he just gets the crit boost from Rai, but yeah, so Bless, I believe I cheer as well. Just, it's good to cheer on big bosses because you usually get a little bit of extra funds. Good for upgrading all of your units as well.
Tenzan!
こ
figuring out, and I'm gonna send Ermin to deal the last damage to that first killer whale, take his health down enough so that he can retreat. And so what Latuni picked up there was the Apogi motor. The Apogi motor, and I'll try to mention parts that I've equipped throughout here as well. The Apogi motor gives you +1 movement, +5 evasion. That's decently useful on a variety of mechs, whether it's one of these planes to give them those extra evasion that they need, or mobility is what it's called for your mechs, instead of evasion is the stat that the characters have. So that's something useful that you'll get. Parts will drop from just generic enemies throughout the game. You'll also be gifted them from various story events as well, and so just kind of use them to your discretion here. Ryu, of course, with his great stats, is able to take down that plane very easily, gets himself a level. And so now all we have to do is take down these killer whales. And as you can see here, that killer whale is far, far, far away from getting out of the way from getting away and getting us a game over here. So use Kai and everybody. And so here's an important thing I do on this, or I'm thinking about doing on this. I'm going to use Kai and use Valor. Make sure to save so that I don't kill the guy here. Or I didn't end up saving. I was thinking about it though. Also just attacking here with Yada and Garnet here to get the supports. So getting some good damage on there. But yeah, this here at the end we're just, doesn't really matter. I'm kind of hoping to get, I think I'm trying to just get this damage down as much as possible. Can't attack from that range too far. Just hoping. I don't even think Kai could have helped support attack there anyway. I think actually what I do, yes, I'm going to attack here with Aya. I was thinking about joining up with her. I think we did. With the machine gun help from her there. I probably should have just left her out and done the attack. Had her attack using Healing Gripper because now she's too far, but doesn't again really matter. You're just trying to slowly take this guy down. He's really moving in an unfortunate pattern for him to try and escape here. Like, yeah, he's close, but like, yeah. So I disband here. Again, just trying to get set up and take down this killer whale. It's really a very boring map. I figured usually you'd have a lot more enemies show up here, but just trying to take them down. The problem with using twin barrel cannon is you can't use twin barrel cannon in the water. I could have put a water jet on Rai that gives you the ability to have S rank no matter where you're attacking. Certainly could have been an idea there, but again, map's pretty easy, so it doesn't matter. Dual sensor that Ryusei picked up there, that gives you +10 to your accuracy, so another. I was thinking about using twin beam cannon again though. Decided against that for one major reason, and that is that, again, will do close to 0 damage because it has a D in the water. So we use Kai to deal some big damage, take that killer whale down, and that is Scenario 7.